Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We are so pleased to have you. This is Formula Prox Fall 2020 season, round 6, I believe, unless I have forgotten how to count, which is entirely possible. I am Jim Hodgson. Thank you so much for being with us. Joining me tonight in the booth is the man, the myth, the legend. So pleased to have him back. Robert O'Brien, thank you so much for being here, sir. How are you feeling?
Oh, well, I'm feeling refreshed.
Good.
The stewards came and visited me and said, if you don't commentate next week, there will be serious reprimands.
Oh, terrified.
So I got very well very quickly.
Well, I'm so glad to hear it. And of course, joining us on production tonight is Marco, and Dennis is here as well, the gentleman from Apex. We would not be able to do this without them. They are the wizards behind the wizards, as it were. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. That was the race info that has just disappeared from the screen. There it is again. Thank you, Marco. Grazie. So here we are at Okayama. This is the Okayama Headout Grand Prix. That's a little bit of a joke there for you guys, at which no one intends to laugh. But we're going to have a great race tonight. Mostly everybody in the Skippy cars, as we were just discussing, Robert.
Yeah, the Skippies have made a big comeback in a big way, I think. We are seeing Skippy, and then a few sprinkles of other cars. We did see one going, oh, there it is. We do see one. His wheels completely turned to the right.
Oh, no.
This is so disconcerting. I'm not sure how that car is driving straight, but it is. It is Carter in the number 202.
I think he's going to have some excellent performance when he needs to turn left. Just looking at the toe of those wheels, as you were just mentioning, I think he's going to be, when it's time for him to turn left, he's going to be like, man, this car handles like nothing else. And then on right-hand turns, he's going to say to himself, I should have gone for a different, look at that. Look at the toe on those wheels.
Well, I mean,
and the camera.
He's being a good delivery person. You know, the delivery person always has to make right turns to get into people's driveways so they can deliver post. So he's got the car just for that reason.
Well, now, okay, the side of the road is reversed, as you know, here in the States. But carry on.
Oh, is it? Oh no. You see, I'm still thinking in terms of we drive on the left, but I mean the wheels are pointing in the right direction for people's driveways if you're driving on the right. So
especially if you want to,
you just need to nudge it. You need to nudge the steering wheel, right.
Yeah, especially if you want to end up in their garden and have a very difficult conversation with them.
How their water feature is no longer a water feature.
Oh yeah, the Top Gun, or special gardening force, whatever that was, if that's what you were referencing.
Yeah, Top Gear Ground Force.
That was pretty funny. Well, anyway, here is Day in what appears to be a Dunkin' Donuts car, but I'm not sure if that's some kind of is that a Pikachu joke?
It looked like a Dunkin' Donuts car.
It does look like Dunkin' Donuts.
It had the same colors.
Yeah.
But it looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like if you ever went to Japan in one of the busy districts there, they have these very sort of outlandish signs. It's very sort of big in your face, and it's like got all these cutesy like symbols, and of course big writing, obviously saying, look at all of our great products. It isn't written in Japanese, but it's still got that same style of art on that car.
You're very right. I'm wondering who is in the navy blue car just behind Day. That is a livery that I have not seen before. Of course, it'll be hard for, that is Greenberg. It'll be hard for Marco to find the car. That is Onobogu. But there is a dark green car that is Warren, just ahead on track of Onobogu. There we go. That is Flannery is that an Alpha Tauri? Well, it's a Red Bull livery anyway.
It is a Red Bull livery, but I think it's more of a alternate color palette to the standard Red Bull livery. You could technically call it an Alpha Tauri livery, but Alpha Tauri will say, no, we're an independent team. We're definitely not Definitely not borrowing parts from our sister team.
Oh, I tell you what, they don't have is any engines anymore. But we'll get to that a little bit later, or will we?
That is the question. We have an engine to get there first.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Horner is still a wanker. But off of Formula One and on to the rest of our race, as we are just ticking over 4.5 minutes in qualifying. We're just having fun goofing around with one another, but there is a qualifying going on here, which we should probably discuss. That looks like Flannery. Is that Hazelton there in the green livery?
Yeah, I think it is.
It is. Good old Fred, hip check Hazelton. As much as I gave him the moniker hip check, he has been very well behaved throughout the season. As we see him better his time there, stepping up into 4th place in qualifying, just over 5 minutes past. So we're about a third of the way through qualifying, and only 6 cars have turned in a time, even though we've got what looks like 9 cars ready to go tonight. Now, I happen to know that Wilmot has got some real life concerns, although he is in the session, I believe. He's got some real life concerns that might see him not actually racing with us until Heat 2. So, but we should still have 7 or 8 times on the timing tower after qualifying is done.
So the drivers, let me just see. The drivers not putting in a lap is Wilmot, Warren, and Greenberg. Greenberg's on the track.
Well,
Warren is not. Greenberg, well, he did have that spin coming through the middle section. So obviously he's having to dust off his plate and try again.
There he goes.
He's just set a time.
Yeah.
If I was Carter, car number 02, I'd be holding the steering wheel quite close to my chest and just hoping that the skippies don't bully you, because it's a Legends car in a sea of skippy.
True, but the Legends car doesn't have aero to lose quite like the Skippy cars do. So I think if I had to choose a car in a coming together, I think I would rather be in the Legend. Although we do know from I believe it was round 4 at Laguna Seca, that Greenberg set the fastest lap of the race with no aero on his car due to many on-track incidents.
Yeah, and he's probably with Carter being in the Legends. I mean, they go around ovals where the only thing that's keeping you from stopping is this big metal or concrete barrier on the outside, so they're destined to take a beating in any case.
Yeah.
So definitely, if the action gets a bit scrappy, and
which it will.
Yeah, which it will, and if push comes to shove,
which it will.
Yeah. I think Carter has not only the right car but the right mindset. If he's having to cover his inside, especially turn 1, it's a right-hander, so the steering wheel's already, or the wheels are already pointed the right way. So,
sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, when this series began, we set up, obviously Greenberg improved his time a little bit there, as does Onobogu. There are open setups allowed, and there is Greenberg in his usual condition of not controlling the rear of the car.
Not on the track. He is the car number 420. Yeah, he's the car number 420, and don't read too much into that. And he has a particular degree. He's just tending to the grass around the track. He just has this affinity with grass. If you can catch my drift.
Yes, indeed. I believe that is Hazelton. Yes, indeed. In the number 70 car. I'm not. Is that a Senna or a Lauda livery?
It could be. It's a late 80s style of
Marlboro car. McLaren.
Yeah,
I guess.
McLaren. Yeah. It screams so much of the late 80s, early 90s, like the MP4/4.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, that last turn on this track at Okayama is the one that always catches me out. Just because it's got that, it's a sweeping right-hander, but also a lot of elevation loss this one right here that Onobogu is in just about now. Here he comes. This is the section of the track where I always get caught out because you're losing all that elevation and there's a couple of very high speed turns and you don't want to lose your, if you lose any speed, you lose so much lap time, but you can also very easily put your car into the beach and that's no good for anybody.
Yeah, and you can also you can do plenty of things that it can hurt yourself. With the skippies in particular. I'm pretty sure they'll have an easier time of it. Carter, I think, I don't think he'll be having a good time around that last corner, especially with the wheels. I mean, the wheels will be turning the right way for the corner, but I don't think they make much of a difference.
I mean, we have open setups, so he could be running. It seems to me he could be running a neutral setup in the Legend, unless I completely misunderstand. But it looks like, I mean, just the camber and the toe on those wheels is crazy looking. But hey, that's what we're all about. Mixing things up, having a little fun.
I just hope that his tires don't explode. Because I mean, technically, if it's turning that much to the right, yet his car is still going straight, that cannot be good for the tires, especially because with extended subjection to side pressure, the tires will just start to give out after a few laps. But he's making it work. But especially in the car, in the cockpit, you can just see how disconcerting it is. Or well, you can even feel how disconcerting it is because he would know, and we know, that the tires are not straight by default. The tires not being straight, if you get into a really big accident here, and you bend some of the bodywork into the tires, and then or you damage the drive shaft or the steering column, your tires won't be straight, or you won't be pointing straight. That is default mode for Carter's car.
Well, I was just watching him drive the car there, and I was just looking at the tape, sort of at the top dead center of the wheel, and he's really rowing at the wheel, so not really familiar with the setup of the car. Very good driver is Carter Kundinger, so you would expect to see his inputs to be, confident and smooth and very sure of himself, but he's kind of, you can see him sort of rowing at the wheel, which says to me that he's not 100% comfortable in that car. As we see Hazelton really flinging that car around the final turn. And let's see if he can improve upon his time. I'm sure he would like to. 1.2 seconds adrift. No, he doesn't. Stays in fourth place. So far, Flannery, who is one of our, very skilled drivers, has got just about half a second on Day, who's got well over a second on Kundinger. Now, I would expect to see a good result from Carter. Even though he's in the Legends car, I would expect to see a very good result from him because good driver, great racecraft, has the ability to sort of cut through the field. And of course, if you're not familiar with us, you won't know that we have in Heat 1, we have sort of the results of qualifying, a normal grid. And then in Heat 2, we do a reverse grid. So, anybody who's able to really cut through traffic and be confident and keep themselves out of trouble will perform well. And Kundinger is definitely one of those.
Yeah, and he joined, essentially round 2 or 3, and he's he's definitely having a blast because he
well, more fun than he was in the Solstice, certainly.
Oh well, I mean, I think that's a given.
Oh no, Onobogu's off the track.
Poor Onobogu. Though he's still my favorite though.
Yeah.
Even it's like that pedigree horse that's past its time. Not to say that Onobogu's past its time whatsoever, but it's the same situation where it's just like he may have a bit of a fall here and there, but in your heart, you're just like, he's still my guy. He's still my boy.
He's like an Albon or a Leclerc. He's like, he said, I just want to keep my head down and get some solid results. And the guy ended up on the podium. I mean, you can't argue with that. And we see Hazelton here able to better his time and get ahead of Kundinger. So he's Kundinger now in P4, which I'm sure will annoy him. Fred, a very good qualifier, but I he's often a little bit better qualifier than he is actually on track, and I wonder. I haven't been able to really pin down exactly why that is the case, but he usually qualifies very well with us, and then doesn't necessarily perform quite as well. Although he had good results last week, so
A lot of it comes in. A lot of it comes into, you know, you will definitely have people, you know, who are just one lap wonders who can just open up Pandora's box, fish out a ludicrous lap. But when it comes to the actual race, if they get stuck in traffic, they just start shutting down because for them, it's all about getting on the top row or the second row from top, and then just being able to gun it, and then essentially go around doing laps as qualifying just ends.
well, you're so right, but it is a very different mindset if you're driving on the absolute ragged edge of what you can do and someone in front of you has any kind of an issue, then you are going to have an incident. But if you're driving, within your limits, then if something happens ahead of you on track, you're able to control yourself as we see the results of qualifying before our very eyeballs. Ryan Flannery at top of the timing chart, also leading the series, if I'm not mistaken, followed by Day, Hazelton, Kundinger in the Legends car, Greenberg, Onabogu, Tulla, Warren, and Wilmot. I hope that Wilmot will be racing with us in Heat 1, although he might not. He might not be getting home quickly enough. He's got real life stuff going on. So, just waiting for Day and a couple of other cars to grid, it looks like.
All of them have gridded, apart from Wilmot.
And we will start our rolling start here shortly.
Yeah, it usually waits 2 minutes from when the safety car is on track. They'll pace around the half lap that we see there. They're just at the end of sector 2 going into sector 3, the two 180-degree turns, then leading on to the two right-handers, leading on to the pit straight, and they'll essentially be go. It's
Hey, look
a
at
bit. Oh, hey, Wilmot.
There he is. Nice work.
He must have been. I need to get on track. My people need me. The MX-5 people need me.
So true. Well, we're seeing a little bit of racing information there. As you can see, it looks like the 41% humidity, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And it looks like track temp is more like 99, so it shouldn't be too terribly bad. We see the lights here up on track getting ready to go out any moment now. And hopefully we'll have an incident-free turn 1.
It'll all depend on the race leader or the pace leader of Flannery. Once the safety car goes in and goes past a certain point, it is Flannery's, and he's actually going already at the final turn leading onto the straight. It is green flag racing, and I think he's catching everybody napping because the green flag just waved, and we already have a little bit. I thought that was a little bit of scrap between Kundiger and Hazelton. Hazelton going wide going into turn 1.
Really opening the door for Kundinger to get around him there, it looked like.
Yeah, and he's actually let him by. And Carter, I mean, he's just... Oh,
keep it together, Chuma. Keep it together.
Chuma, please. I have high hopes. Don't go breaking my heart. Oh, poor Hazelton. Really having... he's not having the greatest of times at all.
A little bit of a commentator's curse there, I think. I mean, we did call him out a little bit.
Well, I cursed on a Google saying he was my favorite, so I'll take full responsibility for that. And as you can see, on the gearbox of Day looking back towards Carter, you can just see how much camber that Carter is actually dealing with. You know, it's no joke when we say that's a lot of camber. The tires are quite literally going to scream by the end of this first heat, I think. And I hope that they don't burst into flames. But I think he's doing extremely well, not only keeping the car straight with that much camber, but he's actually attacking Day going through the first 180 and into the second, taking a wide line and seeing what he can, juggle with Day. I think he's just going to see if he can get Day coming probably turn 1 on lap 2 and see what he can do from there. Ooh, Day's been slide.
Yeah, I think that is going to put Carter into a good spot for the drag race down to turn 1. I think he's probably going to have track position on Day here. As you said, it looked like he took a slightly wider line through the more technical sections of the track where there's that big climb on the back part of the track, and then you lose all of that elevation as Kundinger takes over. P2 from the P2 in the race from Day. Now he will try, if he can, to chase Flannery down. But we happen to know that Flannery has got a very, very long history in this series of being in the skippy car, getting into the first position, and then driving away from the rest of the field. As we are riding on board here with Hazelton, looks like he is going to, well, he's having a little look on the inside of Greenberg, but obviously very, similarly matched cars. Well, here's Hazelton now. It's got a little bit more top speed. He got a slightly better run out of that previous corner, I think, than did Greenberg, although he just lets it breathe. Doesn't want to get into an incident on lap 2, which in this league you definitely can.
We've seen it happen before. But it's I think with Hazelton, I think he didn't play his cards right coming out of the 5th turn, so turn 5 going up the hill towards that long back straight. If he had kept behind Greenberg, or if he had been able to slot in behind Greenberg and then just use his slipstream to catapult himself to a side by side, he would have had a much better time of being able to essentially, force the issue of, do you want to crash or do you want to yield the position? Not in that sort of way, but it's like what Senna said. He's channeling his inner Senna, saying, if you don't go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as we see Hazelton have a little look here, just sort of remind Greenberg that he's there. And of course, there's Greenberg losing the rear of the car, dips a wheel in the gravel and loses the rear of the car. And Hazelton says, "Thank you very much. I will take that P4." That's an oft quoted thing. If there's a hole and you don't go for it, then you're no longer a racing driver. But at the same time, I think that is a position that, a driver like Alan Prost wouldn't necessarily have agreed with, and he certainly had plenty of good results over the course of his career.
Mm-hmm. And he definitely had Senna on the run for his money, definitely on many occasions. In 2 particular years, essentially they were neck and neck, and there was nothing really separating them other than circumstances beyond their control, or essentially just rivalry. A huge big rivalry that autographs or autobiographies and biographies could be written about.
Oh, sure.
And there's going to be one rivalry here because Flannery is actually not getting. He's actually losing time to a Legends car, a USPS car, that is somehow able to keep up and catch. Remember, Flannery was ahead of everybody else. He had a head start, and Carter, out of nowhere, just passed 2 people within the first half a lap on the first lap, and look at him.
Yeah.
I'm speechless.
Well, the tires on those skippy cars, I think that they are made out of very hard wood, as we see a little bit of a mistake there from Flannery. But the tires on the skippy cars are pretty hard. They're you need to be ready to really pitch the car into a turn before what seems like your turn-in point and kind of slide it around. And that's what we see, as we see Flannery lock on the inside of his car and lose his car. So Kundinger takes over the lead of the race. But yeah, I was just going to say the contact patch on those Legend tires, I think is going to be bigger, as we're going to look at the replay here, I believe. Kundinger over the gearbox. No, carry on. I know that you were going to say exactly the same thing. Kundinger all over Flannery's gearbox, and Flannery just lets it go a bit too late. But no harm, no foul, really. He loses the place, but he'll live to race on, and we've got many laps left to go.
I think he was just looking in his mirrors too much.
Was that
It's like,
Onobogu's car off the track on the inside just then?
oh
No, there he
no,
is.
please and please, Shuma.
Oh no, it was just a track service car. My mistake.
Yeah.
I just saw white and blue and was like, oh no.
Oh no, not again. And you can see here, especially during this technical area, that he's having to work the car, Carter. You know, I don't think he's having too much luck through this area as he goes wide, looking to see if he can get on the left-hand
Oh.
side. Ooh, he is actually going for it.
Well, Flannery had a little tank slapper on the out there on the final turn onto the straight and managed to control the car, but did lose a little bit of speed. And I think that gave Kundinger I gave him a real advantage as he will have here on this left-hander. Now, Day has been able to close up to these two because of their squabbling back and forth and will most likely make himself apparent, I'm pretty sure, as we
Oh,
go on through the race.
Yeah, he's actually gotten. He caught right up to them. You know, he was about a second behind the two of them. Ooh,
He's just going
is
to
he
drive
going
right by him.
yeah, he's just. He's actually not going to drive. He's not going to drive by one, but almost by two. But you can just see how much speed the car of the Legends has. You know, out of that corner up through the hill, you can just see how much more horses really it can muster at a moment's notice. It might not have the top speed of the Skippy at all, just because of the way that the gearing works for these Legend cars. You know, they're designed to go around what the Americans would call gladiator style,
Very
oval
tiny
tracks.
oval, yeah.
Yeah. So top speed is not the issue there. It's more about um, how how much you can get up to speed by, and in what short a time you can do that, like how fast you can accelerate. And you know that would actually benefit people like Carter if he's going up a hill. And the Skippy doesn't even have, you know, that big of an engine. It's got aero, sure, but that's not going to help it when there's a screaming V8 behind you.
Yes, well, you also get a few extra points, I believe, in Legends Racing if you can find a way to marry a cousin, someone who is closer to you than like a first cousin or a sister, if you can swim. As we see Kundinger here losing a little bit of time to Flannery. Flannery's going to maybe be able to make a lead up to a second or so. Here we are with that is Wilmot, followed by Warren. I believe they both have had some slight incidents somewhere along the line. We were busy talking about the rest of the field. You know, Wilmot's a very good driver, and Warren as well. So it's interesting to me that they're sort of poking along at the rear of the race here. It would not surprise me if Warren were able to, in the Skippy car, get around Wilmot, but we've also seen Skippy cars bouncing off of Wilmot in the MX-5 from time to time. So that could be also something that we're about to see here as well.
It's a bit like a Nerf gun with the Nerf darts, you know, just bouncing off the MX-5. They just go ding, and it's just like, what hit me? Was that a Skippy?
Yeah,
Oh,
well, you wouldn't.
No,
yeah, I mean, you
nose.
wouldn't describe an MX-5 as a tank, but if it's on track with a Skippy car, then it starts to seem a little bit more robust.
Yeah, it is. It does, and not just any tank. It's like an Abrams versus like a truck or something. big monster of a tank versus basically what is a stick, and try and poke the stick at the tank, and the tank just shrugs it off like it's nothing.
Now, I wonder if your prediction is coming true here a little bit as we look at Kundinger really losing or having trouble with the rear of that car on the final turn onto the front straight. I wonder if he is losing his tires exactly the way that you said that he would have to watch out for. As we see Day basically just walk on by.
Yeah, the fronts are screaming, I think, at this point. Oh, yeah, you can just see how the car is twitching. We do have a view, and you can just see how much he's having to wheel the car. Very technical term. But he's having to sort of give minute inputs. So if you just see him how he turns around turn 5, you know, the deep dives, and you can just see that snap of the rear end around to the left hand side. He's having to correct it.
I mean, that looked like heavy understeer to me. Robert, I think you might. Did we lose him? No, he's back. No? Who knows? Well, on we go.
On we go. Yes, indeed. Sorry, my microphone just cut out.
Yeah, I thought you might have
the stewards.
you were building to a great point and then hit the mute button.
Yeah, the stewards were just like, "No, he's talking sense. He's talking sense." Shh.
We got to stop this guy talking sense.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of talking sense, here is Warren in a faster car than Wilmot, but also knowing his own limits and trying to play it safe and not drive himself into the cockpit of Wilmot's car. Here we are on the nose.
I mean, would you hit a battery tender? I mean, it's a very innocent job.
Yeah,
You just tend to batteries.
Yeah, I own a few of them. Yeah, there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little story about a. Well, let me first of all tell you about our friend Patrick Wilmot, our driver. Wilmot, he does love a gentleman's club. He is racing tonight in what looks like a Tattletales livery. That is a somewhat famous gentleman's club here in Atlanta, popularized in a Motley Crue song. You may remember the lyric "Rockin' in Atlanta at Tattletales." Well, that is the livery that Wilmot is rocking tonight as he rocks himself down the inside for a pass on Warren. Just saying, if you're wondering where that livery came from, that's where. I wonder how gentlemen's clubs are faring as of COVID. Are they dancing with masks on, do you think?
Socially distant book readings, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's built into the rules of that kind of a club. You can't get too close. Unless you can work out you can negotiate some kind of an arrangement. I don't know. But but I wonder if the ladies are on stage with no clothes on but a mask on their face. One wonders. Wilmot might know. Yeah, if you guys wonder that, as I do, reach out to Patrick Wilmot. He might know.
And just ask him what does a battery tender mean?
Well, I know what that is. Well, here we are with Flannery. Leading the race, of course. He's got now over a 2.5 second gap on Day, who's managed to build up a pretty big gap on Kundinger, who is now being threatened, it looks to me like, by Fred Hazelton.
You can just see how much he's sliding in the turn.
Yeah.
I was kind of sort of, far-fetching my theory, but if it's turning out to be correct, I've cursed him big time. And that's something he'll have to watch out for in the second race, because the second race will be longer for the first off, so he'll have an extra 5 minutes of having tires that are about to explode. And the second race will be him starting, if it continues like this, he'll actually be starting down the pecking order. So he'll be starting, if he sticks in third, he'll be starting in 7th position as per the current order right now. And that will prove, I think, a bit of a disaster, because it'll have him fighting, and when cars fight on track, as we're seeing right now, with Hazelton looking like he wants to have a go at Carter, that will definitely spell disaster for those tires.
I'll be honest, I thought Fred Hazelton, I thought he had the pass that time. Not sure how Kundinger was able to get past him. I guess he's just sort of figuring out the car as he drives it. It looked to me like it had some pretty serious understeer. No really good way to combat that. You see, Fred is knocking on the door there between these two turns. You wouldn't even normally call that a passing spot on the track, but I think Fred is going to most likely be able to make something happen here as we see them come around onto the front straight. But Flannery has taken the win, and Kundinger managed to hold Hazelton. Well, I don't know.
Literally 0.1000 1,000th of a second between the two of them. How?
I'm loving that.
Yeah, I like, if there was ever a time for like a virtual assistant, like one of those virtual assistants in like football, that would, say if like a goal happened, this is the time that we need it, because they're coming around the second last turn now. Oh, well, we were, and then warm up happened. Um, but I'll explain just the way, just as I saw it, it was just basically coming around the second to last corner. They were getting there, and then Hazelton set himself up perfectly for the final turn, and they were just neck and neck all the way down.
Well, here are your results from Heat 1. It is Flannery, Day, Kundinger from Hazelton. Hazelton has got, I am sure there are some very choice words being said on the driver Discord right now. From Greenberg, from Onobogu, Tulla, Warren, and Wilmot. And congratulations to Wilmot for making it home in time to grid up for Heat 1. He was a little bit concerned that he would not make it, and he's already had one drop race, and I think he cannot be with us for the last race, so he wanted to make it tonight for points reasons. These guys are competing for a very real trophy, and I know that it's real because I have the receipt. So whoever wins
You have the receipt to approve it.
yeah, whoever wins the series will get an actual trophy with their name engraved on it, because that is important to me. I just think it's cool if people get an actual trophy. I know a lot of these series, Robert, you've been around a long time. I know that in a lot of these series, they just do like PayPal sort of prize purses, but I don't know. I thought it would be cooler if people got an actual thing.
In some of the series that I've been a part of, and one in particular that I'm currently working with, it is real prizes, but they're real prizes in terms of like computer gear and stuff like that people might like to have. But I think a physical object is something that I think people cherish a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, some people just, they want the cash because it's just like, well, they can spend it on whatever they want then. But I mean, the prizes are always a good touch.
Yeah, gardening supplies. If you're Greenberg, for example, and you are a fan of, horticulture, herbs in particular. Yeah, obviously we thought it would be great if somebody came in, Husingfeld or somebody like that came along and gave us some very expensive stuff to give to our drivers. We would happily do that, but they have not. Well, time will tell.
Maybe they saw Greenberg's car and just said, "Oh no!"
Oh, look at these idiots. There goes our man Onambugu out on track, ready to rip it up. He will start P4 in this reverse grid, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, which is entirely possible.
Well, he did the podium that he got. He did actually start up on the upper echelons of the grid. So if he can continue that kind of form, he'll be picking up a lot of points in these races, just from being it's not the worst thing in the world, especially when you have a reverse grid in the second race. You can make up points, especially if you're in something like a Skippy. You can make up time, and if you're good enough in the Skippy, you can definitely make up a lot of time, and in lieu of that, make up a lot of points.
Yeah, well, we like to see some on-track action, and we like for everybody to have someone to race. And the rear of Onobogu's car is racing the front.
Onobugu is racing himself and the wall. I make sure that he doesn't go into the wall or the tire wall, especially because the tire wall around these parts will actually do a lot of damage. Like, you'd be surprised, they'll rip and tear parts off the car. We've seen it happen when they were at Laguna Seca. One of the Skippies went off just before the corkscrew, and that thing was unrecognizable when after it hit the tire wall. Like, everything was missing. Everything that you could consider missing from the car was. It didn't have any air left.
Yeah, so right. Well, here we see Onobugu taking a few warm-up laps now. Something that something that we've seen really catch these drivers out is they go out on the warm-up between the two sessions, and then... Oh, did we catch a black flag here? What is Cunningham doing?
Oh dear. Just having a little bit of a moment with the turn.
on what on
I th- I
earth?
think I I think Carter was trying his luck to see if he could find a new way of getting around the track.
Greenberg
I
doing donuts.
what no one knows.
Look at these buffoons.
only only
What?
only Onobugu said it.
Well, it was only the warm up between races. So here we go. Here is the grid for Heat 2, the heatening. It will be Wilmot in P1. Wilmot, very good driver, a professional driver in meat space. Warren in P2, followed by Tulla. You know, Tulla is a really good driver himself, but he's, I don't know, he seems to have lost his verve a bit. Onobogu in P4, followed by Greenberg, Hazelton, Kundinger, Day, and Flannery. You know, this should be a really interesting race. Well, Flannery, I'm sure, will be able to better his position. The trouble for the people who are starting in the front of this race is that they are very likely to drive their cars into one another, which is not a fast way to get around the track.
No, it'll spell disaster if they do that, especially with the skippies.
Yeah.
You know, as we said before, Carter will have the advantage when the push comes to shove because he'll just be able to go, right, I want to put my car here and push it as fragrantly as I can because, you know, well, I mean, it's a Legends car. I don't think the skippies can do much damage.
I kind of wish we could go back and look at some more of the models of those cars in the parking lot we were just looking at. There were some pretty crazy models in there. Well, here we go. Wilmot in his Tattletale Lounge livery leads the pack, followed by, well, it looks like Warren is in P1 at the moment anyway. But it'll be interesting to see how these guys handled the start this time. There goes your pace car into the pits with its customary very dangerous dive. Here we come around the final turn onto the front straight. We should be racing any second now. Wilmot leading the pack. Very, well, what are we, 6, 7, 8 wide there? Skippy's all over the place. Kundinger having a very big look down the inside of Greenberg, not able to make too much happen there. It looks like he's in P5. Wilmot taking a wide line through the first turn. I think that cost him some time. Let's see, that's Warren all over the rear of his car. You hear my colleague just making noise there, terrified to see Kundinger that close to Tulla's car.
I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried for Carter. I was worried for the poor Skippy Tulla. Tulla holding the steering wheel very tight and just hoping and praying essentially that the big mean wolf that is the Legends car doesn't.
Onobogu making moves on track, battling it out with Flannery. I think Flannery did, it looks like, according to the timing tower, that he's got a little bit ahead, but Onobogu definitely didn't let him go by. And that is Greenberg and Wilmot having a coming together. Wilmot gets punted off of the track.
Poor Wilmot having to. He's gone from first to last.
Well,
and a lot of damage in the front of that car. I'm just seeing a replay now. This is exactly what happened. You're just seeing them going into turn 6. And Greenberg misjudging that. I think just a bit way too much. A bit way too much.
A bit way too much.
You could just see. I think he was trying to see if he could look. Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
He wasn't expecting the braking zone. I think he was just focused too much on the rear end of that Mazda, and Day.
Day has lost his car.
Oh, he's lost it. He's lost a bit more. Look at this though.
Kundinger.
A Carter, the 0-2, out of because of the crash that Wilmot and Greenberg had. Carter is now on by himself, and he's 3 seconds ahead of everybody else. So, third and first in the most inappropriate car, apart from the Solstice. The most inappropriate raceable car. How about that?
Look at Onobogu here making moves.
Yeah, Onabuga
Warren looks
pushing.
at the outside of his car. I think Onabugu is going to get around Tulla, and
He's
indeed he does.
he's gotten two positions there. If he can keep it on the inside, oh, they're going through. Oh my giddy on. He's going for three wide, going down into turn six.
What is going to happen under braking as we head into the turn here?
Ooh, Onabuga overextending in such as the tiniest little bit, but he actually managed to hold it.
Look at him go.
I thought that Tulla would have pounced on that, and he did pounce on it initially, but I think he just didn't fully execute. And he's just, oh, that's actually Warren falling back quite a bit. He's actually been passed by the car 17 and the car 420, so that is Hazelton and Greenberg. And Greenberg, he's carrying damage, but he's still going. He got very lucky with that hit that he had. The Mazda, of course, hitting the short end of the stick into the wall. So
Yes, well, we can see his Greenberg's front arrow is displaying a little bit of a smirk now. It's no longer a no longer a line, as we see Warren losing his car there and getting into the inside of the wall there. Looks like he'll be able to get going again. I'm assuming he just lost the rear on this last corner here.
let's have a look. Ooh, he slid the rear out. Oh, and he just touched the gravel, and the gravel said,
Yep.
I'll have your nose."
Unfortunate.
You know when you're playing games with your kids, and this is like, "Got your nose."
Yeah.
That's exactly what that wanted to poor Warren.
Yeah, a little change in friction there due to dip in the rear wheel off of the track there. As we see Tulla leading a little pack here of Hazelton and Greenberg. Now, Hazelton and Greenberg, very good friends in real life, so they will definitely not be afraid to mix it up with one another, but they'll probably be careful and try not to wreck. They won't mind wrecking one another because they know each other pretty well, but Tulla, they don't know as well. So, well, we see Greenberg just have a little look at the inside of Tulla. Maybe not. Oh, Greenberg. It looked like a little bit of contact there, but Tulla was able to keep it straight. And Greenberg now scooting on by. It looks like Hazelton might be able to follow Greenberg through that chute.
Just looking on his left rear coming through the technical section. They're both carrying damage, but obviously not enough to, give them too much of an issue. But again, they are absolutely well behind this car. With his wheels pointing in the wrong direction where it's actually meant to be going, the tires squealing for dear life. It is first by 2 seconds, but it is actually dropping back quite a ways, and Flannery is actually putting in laps that are just under a second faster. So Flannery is definitely his presence is now being felt, and being felt in a big way.
Flannery does. Oh, there's Wilmot stopped on the inside. He might be getting himself another car. Flannery does have to get around Day there. Now we see. So these three cars that we're seeing here in this pack are Kundinger, followed by Day, followed by Flannery. But Day is a lap down. Even so, Flannery will have to get around Day in order to have his crack at Kundinger. So here we go on lap 4. We're just over a sort of a third or so into this heat, so plenty of racing left to go. I would not be surprised if Flannery will able to catch it up to Kundinger at some point and challenge for the lead of the race. But he will have to get around Day in order to do that.
And that will...
Oh, which he's not going to be able to do if he doesn't keep his car on the track.
Yeah, that was way too close for comfort to see Flannery do that. I mean, it's a miracle that he managed to hold it, because like the car was ready to kick the rear end out and essentially give the final blow. Because usually what happens when you have a tank stopper is the rear will slide out. You attempt to correct it, but it'll always essentially be an overcorrect. And in some chassis, you can't really correct it once it started sliding, other than getting your speed down and braking. I mean, he could have tank slapped into a oversteer off to the right and just eject himself into a wall. It does give Carter another lap to breathe, but it's a lap to breathe and to worry.
Yeah. Well, especially in cars that have a lot of body roll because they get that sort of inertia into the car, and it's very hard to control a tank slapper situation, as you were saying when that happened. That's why when you see road cars crash, they get into one of those big slides, and the driver just doesn't seem to be able to do anything about it. That's because the suspension is set up for comfort, not for performance. We see Greenberg leading a pack here of Hazelton and Tulla. So it looks like Greenberg and Hazelton were able to get around Tulla, but Tulla's still staying with them. Onobogu all by himself. What on earth is Hazelton doing? He's trying to lose the car.
Maybe Hazelton wants to go on an adventure.
Well, we see him have a little bit of adventure under braking there. A little puff of smoke from the inside of his tires. It looks like Flannery now has the gap down to nearly half a second. Greenberg nearly losing the car. Hazelton nearly losing the car, trying to stay out of Greenberg's gearbox.
The two of them are essentially, passing around and shuffling Greenberg around to try and see if they can shuffle him to the wheel touching, trying to shuffle him to the rear end and try and get their race underway and battle and duke it out. But I do notice one thing, and that is Carter. And oh my dear lord, that is Flannery catching up in a big way. He took another second off him. Are the tires gone that far already?
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, I meant to put that question to you as we see Flannery now taking that place from Day. So now he's clear to chase Cartinger down. Nothing that Day can do if Day was indeed doing anything at all, as it was. Of course, if Day runs into Flannery, that'll be another issue. But I was wondering if you were in this position. Okay, so we're only on lap 6. We're not even halfway through this race. So if you're Flannery, why not just bide your time, let Carter drive the wheels off, and then you can just, as he's about to do here, you can just say thank you very much.
Oh, he actually touches the rear end of Carter's car to make sure that he knows that Flannery is there, and Flannery can, I can overtake you at any time, Carter.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to be a good sport and sit behind you and let your tires squeal to the canvas, because I think that's what he wants Cunningham to do, and just basically knock him out in a big way.
Well, I'm sure that they are trading comments on the Discord. Of course, as I said, as we see Flannery here taking a nice sharp line and taking over the lead of the race from Cunningham. Will he be able to hold on to it once they get onto the start-finish straight? That is another matter, although it looks like... I'm just thinking now. I just think it's so funny how often the two of us go...
It's just a natural impulse to see.
As we see Cunningham here all over Flannery's gearbox. Still lots of racing to go, though. I think I'm going to give the advantage here to Flannery now that he's in the lead. He should be able to put a gap on Cunningham, but, look who's in P3 back there. It is our pal, Chuma Onobogu.
We've cursed him now. He needs to survive for 9 minutes.
Well, he's got a pretty big gap on Greenberg. Greenberg, Tulla, and Hazelton are battling it out back there. There they are. There's that little group of 3. So if Onobogu is able to keep his head down, he should be able to get a good result tonight. I know that would please him. That's exactly what he said he wanted. Keep his head down and get good results, and we've seen him improve over the course of the season.
Yeah,
I'm pleased.
As I said before, he's making a bit of a knack of coming back in the second race. The first race might not be too good for him, but the second race is always in the last race that I broadcasted with you and commentated over. We were discussing that that podium is exactly what Onobogu probably needed, was the confidence to be able to say, hey, I might not be the fastest driver out there, but consistency is always going to give me. Yeah, and that's what happens when you don't have strength. You can just see that is the first and the second.
Oh,
Ooh,
we got
just
a
a
little tap from
little
Day there.
little tap from Day. I think Day was kind of just the tiniest misjudgment from Day, but at the very least that he said, "I'll let you back by." But I think
Come
Day
on,
is just
Day.
ooh, oh, that is Flannery slowing down in a big way. What's happened to him? Flannery's going to get past here.
I think he's gonna let. I I think they're gonna. I think he's gonna let Kundinger catch him up, and I think the three of them are going to, as we see Day lose the rear of his cars. Uh, but the drivers often have these conversations on track, so Day's gonna unlap himself and drive away, I think, and then maybe, and then Flannery and Kundinger will go for the win of this race. That, as I say, the drivers are all on a Discord together, so they have conversations and they make decisions about how to handle the race without our input. So they're an autonomous sort of a collective without any input from us.
At the very least, now that um, Carter can at least get to substream, and I think he needs that more than ever. He's got the acceleration to come out of the corners, but I think those front tires are now starting really to struggle. I think the camber on the car is doing him absolutely no favors, and I would actually look to see what kind of tire wear he's going through right now, even in this 20-minute race. Just to
He's
see
got to
how,
be down to the rims.
Oh, just literally down to the metal.
Yeah.
Seeing Hazelton going a little bit wide coming out of the final turn. So there's a three-way battle between Greenberg, Tulla, and Hazelton. They are 3 seconds behind Onobugu. So if Onobugu can, well, he needs to speed up just a smidgen. But if he speeds up a smidgen and keeps his current pace, or well, his pace going with that little speed up, I think he will continue to hold P3 when the checkered flag flies. And as you can see on that last lap, Onobugu was a good bit slower, but he was consistently faster than Greenberg behind him because the three of them were battling consistently. It's now just a case of hoping for Onobugu's sake, in his car, that the three of them continue to do battle actively, essentially through every corner.
You know what I'm just realizing? I never loaded the cams for tonight.
Professional.
Oh.
I just also noticed as well, while we're on the section of cams, the camera is very distinctly picking out how damaged that rear end is. I'm surprised it's not actually giving Greenberg more issues than just it is damaged and it is there.
Yeah. We're just cycling through a couple of views of Greenberg's car here. I'm not seeing any. Well, his rear wing appears to have just a touch of damage. It's a little bit off kilter. But Greenberg is used to driving cars with no aero on them. At least his aero damage is all on driver's right of the car, so he just knows that he can't trust. Well, I guess that would hurt him most in a left-hand sweeper if he didn't have that downforce on that side of the car. Here we see Tulla doing his best to catch up to Hazelton, who's doing his best to catch up to Greenberg. And in the distance, they are trailing Onobugu. Flannery now with a 3-second gap over Kundinger, which is not that surprising. Flannery does have the fastest lap of the race tonight. Very good driver, very fast is Flannery, especially in the Skippy car. And this track does have some good spots where you can really get some high speed in the Skippy car. We see Onobugu navigating there. So we're up to 17 minutes here, and at a lap time of just under sort of a 1:45 lap time, I would think we'd be getting pretty close to the end of the race. So our leaders, we might. There is your number 2 car, and there is your leader, Flannery, just trailing Day, who is the back marker of this race. Flannery and Day must have had some sort of decision to race one another on the Discord. Who knows? A lot of damage there on the side of on the Flannery's side pod there.
Day might be thinking that he might be faster. It'll be interesting to see what kind of lap times they do. But it is also interesting to see that Carter is actually falling back. He's actually falling back at quite a pace. He fell back by half a second that lap, and Shuma is actually putting in. Yeah, he's actually catching, and he's not. He's still slower than Greenberg is, but he's only a 0.3 of a second, or less than 0.3. He was only 0.2 of a second slower than Greenberg. He's still outside the slipstream range, so if he can keep it just going for just a little bit longer, the tables might turn in a very, very good way for Puma.
Well, Hazelton just turned in the fastest lap of Heat 2 so far at a 1:45.2. So he is not, although now it just appears that he's attached to the rear of Greenberg's car. He is definitely getting some fast driving in as we tick over now at 18 minutes and 55 seconds. So most likely the leaders will go by, and this will be the second to last lap, I would think, at 19 minutes. I would think that they will be able to get around one more time. Although if we click over 20 minutes as they're on this lap, this might be the last lap. Thank you, Marco. Not sure if everybody was able to hear that, but Marco just let us know there is one more lap. So this is the second to last lap. Here we see Flannery just navigating the end, followed by Day. So Day is now down a lap again. And there is Kundinger wrestling his car.
And that is Onobugu right behind him. This is not looking good for Carter. He's lost in and around the ballpark of 2 seconds. Yeah, just 2 seconds.
I'm really biting my nails here as we see that's Greenberg and Hazelton joining the party here. I'm sure that Onobugu would love to get around Kundinger's car and take a P2 in Heat 2. My only concern is that he's able to make this pass in a safe way and not get tangled up and take them both out. I'm sure that both of those drivers are having the exact same thought. But while Onobugu is trying to be careful, he has a little look at the inside of Kundinger. Kundinger not able to keep a tight line there because we assume because his tires have gone off. So they're going to make a 4-car pack here. Onobugu in the lead, followed by Kundinger. Kundinger having a look at the outside of Onobugu. Don't think that he's got the speed to do it. We'll see, although Onobugu in a very bad position to make this turn. He's going to have a big break. He does it, manages to get the car slowed down, really threw the anchors out on that one. And here we go again. I'm beginning to believe, Robert. I'm beginning to believe that Onobugu can make this P2 thing happen. What do you think?
Oh, Carter is having to fight for his poor tires' life. I think those two front tires are literally just. He's gonna go into the pit and do it.
No! Oh no! He just ricocheted off of Hazelton and Greenberg's cars, managed to keep it on the road. Here we see your leader as he heads across the start-finish line. He will take the win. Day, I don't know if Day not able to unlap himself because Flannery turns into him and now pirouetting through the car, pirouetting through the air, doing his best impression of Mark Webber there. As we see Onobugu's car flipping around.
That was a very nice pass.
But Onobugu was able to make it happen and hang on to P2. We're going to see Kundinger come around and give Onobugu a little smackaroo.
Oh, and Chuma gets another spin for his troubles.
Yep.
So this is just seeing the replay of the leader, Flannery, the race winner, coming around side by side with Day. Didn't really make that much of a difference that Day was there because the day was for Flannery. Once again, putting in a very good drive. And unfortunately, for that poor car, as soon as he crossed the line, every man for himself.
Yeah, he actually turned in before the line, so it's nice that they were able to keep that. And here's Chuma is going to spear Day's car, although Day net coded out. Well, what a night! Great result for Onobogu tonight. I think I'm pretty pleased with it. As Greenberg heads toward our camera position. Boy, that's some great camera work there. Marco of Apex Racing, everybody. If you need a the reason if you need pictures like that for your league, talk to Apex. These are the guys. Oh, by the way, we should go ahead and thank our title sponsor, Jay's Electrek. Thank you so much for trusting us to make this bizarre series. Here are your results from Heat 2. Flannery takes the win from Onobogu in P2. Attaway, buddy. Followed by Hazelton, Greenberg, Cunninger. A very unfortunate last lap for Cunninger. He ricocheted off Hazelton and Greenberg's cars, and they were able to steal those places from him. They're followed by Tulla, Warren, Day, and Wilmot. A disappointing night for Wilmot. Unfortunate for him. I know that he was hoping for a better result. He rushed home from his real life engagements in order to come and race with us. And I'm sure that he's annoyed. Well, we have 2 more races in the series. So, yeah, Summit Point, I think, next week, unless I'm very much wrong. But you can find out for sure at fprox.net. Do have a look. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been a ball. Cannot wait for next week. And then our final at Road Atlanta. Do join us for those races. You can find everything, again, as I say, at fprox.net. Thank you so much to my colleague, Robert O'Brien. Thank you to the production team of Marco Barbanera and Dennis Branch, I believe. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll see you next week.